You are not honor bound by broken oaths. We've got Candle and dodging bullets in reverse. Blocking bad energy, escaping toxic people, and haters can't touch you. And I had to noodle on this for a little bit. And initially what the impression I have is somebody you might be dealing with, a practitioner. And that's something that's come up in some recent readings. Maybe a binding that failed, like trying to bind you to a narrative of sorts. And that could be either a practitioner or just in the mundane psychological warfare. But I got the witch runes out just because I got that witchcraft vibe. We got the masculine out here. But the first thing that came to mind was the god Tyr from Norse mythology. And he lost his right arm to Fenrir, the agent of Ragnarok. And that was like knowingly deceiving Fenrir in order to bind him by these impossible chains to get out of. Like they were made of a fish's breath, the sound of a cat's footsteps, things like that. But he knowingly went into that to sacrifice his arm in order to bind Fenrir to try and hold off the apocalypse, hold off Ragnarok. So I think someone tried to bind you in some way. Don't quite know how yet, but it failed because these are in reverse. So let's see. And we've got the DC Tarot out because this is, I don't know, it has kind of like a detective vibe to it because I wanted to know from the previous reading, whomever Adam represented in that between Adam and Lilith, what didn't they want known? What didn't they want to come to the surface? So maybe it's this. Nine of Swords and Six of Pentacles in reverse. Unequal give and take, but a relief of a nightmare. Or a nightmare coming to the surface, actually, is more what I'm getting from that. Is this a bully? Is this someone that you just didn't do anything to and they're taking out their stuff on you, like unequal give and take? Because this mentions toxic people and blocking bad energy. And this has kind of a, it looks like a fence almost, the way that they're stacked up. Someone trying to get past your boundaries, maybe through a binding. It's like through that narrative. Because Tyr, the god Tyr, sold Fenrir a narrative that, like, he was acting dumb. Like there was any potential of him ever getting out of this binding when Tyr was just knowingly sacrificing his arm. I'm not really clear on why, though. Because unequal give and take, in the Rider-Waite, the two beggars on the ground, in one of their pockets, there's a red ticket. And that can be an indication of a higher class, like a theater ticket, that person didn't actually need any sort of charity, any sort of generosity, because they already lived in plenty. but it's like the person in the neighborhood that walks by the free little library or something that they already have plenty of books at home, but they take one and they don't leave one. Something like that. Like greed. I'm not quite clear though how binding you relates to greed. Do you have resources they want? Or you have something they want? Doesn't necessarily have to be money. Because you're blocking bad energy. Haters can't touch you. And I've been hearing this phrase a lot lately in Tarot land. But your biggest fans are also your biggest haters, and your biggest haters are also your biggest fans. Is it, are you a content creator? Like, are they jealous? It's not that hard to start a YouTube channel. Like, you can make one. And then they can do whatever they're good at on it. Or are they trying to copy you? So I got a lot of Scorpio energy. Scorpio, 8th house, and the North Node on the dice roll. And the 8th house has a mention of merging. It's like somebody codependent on you. Like when people take things from others' personality or something, when they don't have a solid sense of identity, and then they start liking everything the other person likes, like to the same degree, and they don't have their own separate interests and things like that. Like it's very enmeshed. You're trying to keep boundaries up. So, that's weird. 4 of Pentacles, control. Yeah. It's like you're trying to be controlled, like Fenrir. And something was told to you or a group or something, because the whole Aesir was involved in that myth. Because it's kind of important to fend off the apocalypse, right? So control. And there's been this consistent theme of, like, you have to act a certain way to maintain a narrative. So is that being seen? The deception being seen? Like with the Tyr deceiving Fenrir? It's like the original intent that's coming to the surface. And that's what whomever Adam represents doesn't want. This first placement can always be a little bit hard to swim around. Well, I'm trying to find the roots, find the threads. Fridge. It's a really unsettling fridge. Like something you'd see in a video game that doesn't have anything good in it. Reminds me of the, was it Resident Evil 7 Biohazard? That opening area. That house. Ugh. What else about fridge? But it's in reverse. So something not preserved. Like this binding, this attempt at binding, this attempt at a narrative. Uh-oh. Into you. Oh, there was one. Into you and obsessive lover. Good chemistry, great vibes, pure intentions. Clingy and controlling, can't let you go, karmic and chaotic. They're both in reverse, and that this grudge-looking lady, the one with obsessive lover, was completely hidden. They were flush. Is this limerence? Is this like the bully that can't deal with their feelings for the victim, and so they're just like relentlessly mean to them? Which I am not a fan of those movies that end with them like reconciling and like getting together. No, that person's abusive. Get away from them. Like, live your life, but no, they've got some things to work out, and you're not their therapist. It's not up to you. It's not some like, oh, we were meant to cross paths so that I can work through my issues out on you. Like, you are the tool I'm going to use to fix my wounds. No, that's called therapy. They get paid for that. There's a reason for that. But have they been doing this to not even woo you, but like capture you? That looks like the triqueta. It's a Celtic symbol, an Irish symbol. Just learned things about that word Celtic that I didn't know. Was Laura O'Brien from the Irish Pagan School? That Celtic is actually a group of languages, and it doesn't refer to a people. That's just like an academic term. So this is the one for romance. I'm still learning the witch. I was going to say witch wounds. Witch runes. Words. Relational harmony, instant attraction. I feel like that's what is trying, like, to convince you of. Those words didn't quite come out, wording. But that's like the aim, is the whole, like, the soulmate angle. To control you, to get access to something that you have, that they want. Maybe it is money. Maybe it's just you. I don't know. What about this obsessive lover? But maybe this is being seen. Because there's a conflict between those two, like being in reverse and then the rune. It's like this is what's being sold, but it's not completely true? Maybe it's like a love scammer? I don't know. Like a Tinder swindler. Something. And that's way past, and that flipped over right as I said and. That is way past bullying. That's a predator. If you've been on the channel for any length of time, you know I've been through being swindled myself. As I was going through a medical crisis and I encountered a romance scammer for the first time. I had never been exposed to that type of scam, and I really hate the name of it. It's called pig fattening, and I saw an article on CNN about it a long time ago, and it's like this really twisted network of victims victimizing victims, because it's these compounds on the border of, was it Burma? Is that the right? That, I don't think that's the modern. Myanmar. Myanmar, Thailand. Like right there, there's some compounds like where people are getting trafficked, and they're forced to scam people to like get money and try to get them into cryptocurrency and things like that. Um, be gentle with yourself if that's something you've been through. People can be really so judgmental about, like, they prey on people in weakened states. Like, that doesn't have anything to do with you. These are predators. And the more we talk about it, especially with the deregulation of AI and things like that, the more people can learn about it to protect themselves and other people that they care about that might not be so tech savvy. My little soapbox. We've got the Page of Pentacles and the King of Cups in reverse. And that flipped over again right when I said and, which is the only word I remember in that sentence. But I feel like this is the true identity of this person, that they're presenting like a Page of Pentacles, like they don't know any better, but they're a King of Cups in reverse, like they're wearing a mask. Like this wouldn't be necessarily, I mean, it could be, but somebody that is doing the victimizing. This is more like somebody who's organizing the victimizing. And it doesn't necessarily have to be as involved as like organized crime with like the pig fattening scam and stuff like that. It could be bullies. It could just be the nasty, cliquey, you know, Regina George is in charge of everybody. Throws out all the burn book pages and all that. So what else about this Page of Pentacles? Because a King of Cups in reverse, that's very out of balance. That's somebody who is supposed to be nurturing and kind, generous, cares for the kingdom, cares for the subjects. But they're knowingly wearing that like Page of Pentacles mask. We've got Nine of Wands in reverse, lack of boundaries, and Eight of Wands in reverse. I think that was in reverse. Pretty sure. Something blocked. Power blocked. Messages blocked. Information blocked. Selective information being shared about the narrative to try and break down the boundaries. Like, one of the methods of like coercive control and things like that is isolation. That's a really key component to a lot of forms of abuse. And there's a brain fog, something triggering. So isolation. So if you're in isolation, they can control the narrative of maybe you've never expressed interest in this person, or it was just a polite, like, no thank you, like I'm not interested, you know. Maybe you work together or something, and that's a line you don't cross. You know, and You could also be dealing with somebody who can't navigate nuance. It's like not understanding, when I would say, I don't date people I work with. The exception to that would be the random person that I bumped into at the annual picnic that we work in different departments and different buildings in different parts of the city. Like, it's really a technicality that we work together. It's the immediate circle that I don't want to cross lines with, any sort of power dynamic, anything like that. But somebody who's this out of balance might not be able to interpret that nuance and just like, oh, they lied to me. Like that, I think it's the rejection, sensitivity, dysphoria sort of stuff. Like, really takes it intensely personally. And that person, somebody in that like hypothetical situation, might try to confront you, might try to get past your boundaries, and you don't owe them an explanation. That them navigating nuance is up to them. If they can't handle that, like, talk to your therapist. Like, they can give you the skills, like, they can help you. That's why it's there. So what? Seems like this person just has perception issues as the candle starts to flicker. Like the inability to interpret nuance, maybe like really sensitive to criticism. But whatever they were trying to do, like construct a narrative that you were going to be together, you were together, because maybe you're isolated in this. I think that's where I was trying to go with that. That trying to paint a picture of your relationship status, which isn't accurate. So what's happening now that this is being seen? Because that can be, like, what is it, DEFCON 5 level crash out? Like, what's the highest one? Because that can be a real wound to the ego, like realizing, this was never like what it's being presented as, anything like that. Photo and envelope, both in reverse. That's giving me an icky feeling. And the numbers are right next to each other. 35, 34, counting down. So maybe this is winding down, hopefully, whatever the situation is. But he's reminding me of the guy from Desperate Housewives, Gabby's stepfather. Terrible, terrible human. That was a really intense part of the storyline. And anytime there's an obsessive person, lover, whatever, involved, sometimes it can involve letters, like DMs, things like that. Maybe this is stopping, if that's something that's been going on. Maybe they've been sending you unwanted selfies. Something like that. What of a rune? The scythe. Cut this ish out of your life. if you do find out someone has been obsessive and any kind of stalking behavior, anything like that, I would try talking to like a local DV, domestic violence organization. They might be able to help you enter the system the best way, because it can be really chaotic and re-traumatizing, traumatizing to try and get help. It's really pitiful to me, the state of things, of how difficult it is to get help when there's overwhelming evidence that if somebody comes forward, if a woman comes forward, this applies to everybody, but women are generally the most hard hit by this. Believe her. The social cost of her coming forward in and of itself, like, she's guilty before proven innocent. No matter what anybody says, that is the case. And even after her innocence is proven, people are still going to villainize her. They're going to do some sort of justification in their head as to why this person's behavior was okay. Like, oh, she was leading him on, whatnot. Nope. This person just completely ignored all social cues and things like that. Because I'm not convinced that somebody, in this situation, that can be scheming or plotting to get past boundaries wouldn't understand that they're there. It's looking at the behavior, not the words, well, you only lose your temper in private. Your temper is completely in control. It's being used as a weapon. The narrative thing too, constructing the narrative. Because some of that might be ego, vanity. Like, they just have an expectation of, vanity. An expectation of, oh, they have this in the bag, But the Queen of Swords, this is one of my malignant narcissist cards, coming out in reverse. It could be like covert, but it's out there on that end of the spectrum, that you're dealing with somebody who truly does understand their actions and the implication of their actions. Because if they didn't, like, why would it be so calculated? Why would it follow such a known pattern? And any time the issue of consent comes up, where it's like, oh, I didn't understand, like, didn't get the message, didn't get the memo, Knight of Swords in reverse. If it was their phone, their money, their car, they'd know. They wouldn't need an explanation that you need permission to access those. Like, it would not, you don't need to send a message about that. It doesn't need to be spelled out for them. They know. But the way these narrative work, they get presented to the right people at the right time. Like, think of all the good that could be done in the world if, like, this level of calculation was being applied for, like, climate change, for new forms of energy, for technology, electricity, updating the grid, things like that. It'd be incredible. Because people that do things like this are quite smart. The sun, yeah, illumination. Superman. I always like the sunflowers. Those are about in season. I mean, it's unseasonably warm, but there are some near me. Something being illuminated. And he's got kind of that Jesus pose. So I am kind of getting ego from that. Because I think it came out, plopped out sideways. They think very, very highly of themselves. So it's like a narrative that was sold with the expectation that nothing could go wrong. Like, how could I, Superman, possibly not be able to bag Lois Lane, right? So something like that. And a lot of red, too. Foundational, root chakra. So the ego's being seen. I don't know if by everyone, but certainly by you. And I'm getting the sense to cut this person out. Like, if at all possible. You know, of course there's extenuating circumstances, you know, if you work with this person, if you have kids with this person, something like that, some sort of link. But if you're in some sort of official structure, like a job, and they're painting a narrative of you that like you two are together or something like that, that could affect promotions. That could affect like your trajectory within that company. That is absolutely something that needs to be documented. Take it to your union rep if you have that option. There's reporting it to HR. There's all sorts of different things that you can do. So they're being seen. What's next? Where's this headed? Now that I feel like this is starting to come to light. Like what I was saying about the sunflowers, it's a little unseasonable, maybe a little early, but they're starting to bloom. Like people are starting to see maybe the truth behind the mask. What does that mean for us? Because I'm getting like a conflicting... This person is very smart, but they're playing dumb. Like Tyr and Fenrir. So what happens after this gets exposed? How about that? We'll go with that point in time. Prison. Wow. They may have done something more than, I don't know, it's defamation, but I think stalking is like a felony charge, something like that. It looks like another video game, like very haunting. And 27, that combines down to a 9, so the ending of a cycle. The candle seems to agree. But this could be like a social prison. Like their reputation is ruined because their actions are seen, things like that. The binding that was intended for you comes back on them. That'd be like Fenrir got his arm and also ended up not bound. Which, I mean, technically that would be an apocalyptic event. Because this would have to occur within some sort of social structure. Whether or not it's work, just a friend group, something like that, something will collapse as a result of Fenrir not being contained. You being Fenrir in this analogy. But I don't see that as a bad thing in this context, because if somebody's doing this to you and they're this adept at it, you're probably not the first, and you wouldn't be the last if this didn't come to a close. Ooh, goodness gracious. Where'd that go? Here we go. Rejected, ghosted hard, ignored, and erased. Moving on. Thank you, next. Maybe you need to listen to, who was that? Ariana Grande? Karmic friends. Can't fully trust them, always some tension, low-key competing with you. So you are leaving this behind. Rejected, no more. Not dealing with the karmic friends because they would have contributed to this. You know, it's like, well, yeah, you were lied to, but you also didn't come to me to verify anything. You just went with one side of the story and was like, that's good enough. We are not friends. Wind. Movement. Moving on. Just reinforcing. Oh. I don't know which way that goes. I don't know if it matters because it's wind. But maybe this person, like the Regina George, who might stick out, you know, in the crowd with the Aesir, the Norse gods. I don't know. But maybe she could find her place there. And maybe people will have some feelings about you moving on. Those are their feelings. They are entitled to those. Even if they don't gel with your version of the events, your experience, that's their problem. Like, that's the kind of trap at the end of a journey as to where you can get stuck. Like, you're right at that precipice of everything you've been working for, trying to, like, GTFO, move on to not even the next stage, but the next, like, cycle of the hero's journey to whatever the next ordinary world is for you. Greener pastures, you know, move into a new city, new country, something like that. Wherever the wind takes you. You can get caught up in people wanting closure, wanting to explain, like, no, you had that time, like, to reach out to me this whole time. Like, you could have done that. And no effort was applied to that until the results were in. I do not have time in my schedule for that. That's just me. And you might need your own dose of therapy, of support group, things like that, to process this yourself. Because it's one thing to be able to move on to, you know, finally break those chains. It's still gonna hurt. But getting away from the situation, it can give you the space to hurt, to allow you to stop having to survive this situation and actually feel what you were put through. Gotta feel it to heal it, as they say on the Instagrams. Which, that's one of those little reductive phrases that's annoying and true. Not all of those are false and toxic positivity. some of those really call you out. The Emperor, taking control, really overseeing your kingdom. The culmination of all 4 kings, mastered this hero's journey. Time to revel and rest and eat, drink, and be merry. And again, if this is in some sort of official capacity, not only like pursuing things officially, like legally, whatever the right path is for you, that not only can help you get things back on track, because if somebody's constructing a narrative and hurting your trajectory at work, that sounds like damages to me. That I'm not a lawyer, I obviously can't guarantee anything, but it's at least in that zip code. But it also exercises that wrathful compassion that I bring up so often, that you can end things with you. It's completely unfair that you were the one that had to take things on the chin. And you have an opportunity to make the world a better place, to really help people. It might be people you'll never know, might be people that you'll never even encounter, but it's like ending the possibility of them being hurt by somebody who just kind of on a rampage. Because with antagonistic people that are predatory, because we've gone a little bit further past bullying with the examples, there are chains of victims. It's not always just like one person. Yeah, 3 of Pentacles. So you're going it alone, doing your own thing, getting away from these people. It's like apologies are just not good enough. If they knew this was going on in the background and they didn't say anything to you, they didn't say anything to somebody official, didn't take some sort of action to stop you from being hurt, those are not your friends. I don't know if there's any kind of recourse available for that, but that's the important thing about bringing these to the appropriate people's attention, like bringing these issues up, is they're the experts. They're the ones who are going to know more about the process, have encountered like more touch points with more people, more situations, and be able to guide you the right way. The mentor stage in the hero's journey. And these are all in reverse. 4 of Cups, King of Pentacles, and Ace of Wands. So this would be active action. Or even seeing the downsides of the offer being given to you. Like an offer to stay. That's what I'm getting from this combo. Like if you stay, we can improve things. We can, I don't know if it's a work situation, like you can help build the policies, things like that to ensure this doesn't happen again. Like, no, I was the one that was harmed. I need to leave. I need to get away from here. I need to heal myself. Like, y'all have enough information from me, and I'd be willing to bet a little bit of money, you know, somebody with an organizational psych degree that they can help you build the policies in a far more neutral way than I can, and I can be free to rest. But that's another like being caught up in trying to leave. It's the future faking. Like, they had this whole time to make things better, but now that you are cutting ties and you've had enough, you're moving on, getting away from all this craziness, now they want to make it better. Too little, too late. Just my personal opinion. I have stayed in many a thing, friendships, romantic, otherwise, far too long because I took people's word on good faith. Because I was looking at them like, oh, now that we've all been through this, now that you've heard my side of it, we have a full understanding of how this is harmful, like how this affects people. And you end up feeling like a battery. Like they're just feeding off of you. And they're not recharging you. It's just temporary change and things go back to the way they were, or they get worse because now they know what you'll tolerate. And so those boundaries get pushed and pushed and pushed. So maybe you need a comfort show. South Park. I haven't seen that in a while because it's on Paramount and I don't have that anymore. So I need to get that on. I don't think I even have anything that physically plays DVDs. So digital, purchase somewhere, but whatever your comfort show is, something to give you a laugh. Because these kind of situations are really, really difficult. Even when you know people are unhealthy for you anymore, it still hurts to walk away from relationships, long-term friendships, even long-term jobs. There's going to be a grief process with that, and having something to pull you out of that and give you a break, because rest is a part of that too. So overall, I hope this helps. I hope it doesn't resonate, but we'll see you next time. Thanks so much.